That a man is always fasting and praying and going to church and carrying a big family Bible and wearing white doesn't mean he knows God. In fact, look at what Paul will say concerning Israel in Romans chapter 10 verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. We're going to read this in the Message in a few minutes. Next verse. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. So somebody can be zealous about God, but in ignorance. Zeal is not a cover-up for knowledge. Zeal is not equivalent to knowledge. You can be zealous and energetic about God, but attacking the purpose of God in your zeal. Now, look at the next verse. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. Next verse. Oh, I love this. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Give me the Message from verse 1. Romans 10 from verse 1, Message translation. Believe me, friends, all I want for Israel is what's best for Israel. Salvation. Nothing less. I want it with all my heart and pray to God for it all the time. Next verse. I readily admit that the Jews are impressively energetic regarding God, but they are doing everything exactly backward. Full of zeal, but everything is backward. Look at the next verse. They don't seem to realize that this comprehensive setting things right, that is, salvation is God's business. And a most flourishing business it is. So right across the street, they set up their own salvation shops and they are noisily hawking their wares. After all these years of refusing to really deal with God on his terms. So they are insisting instead on making their own deals. They have nothing to show for it. Next verse. The earlier revelation was intended simply to get us ready for the Messiah, who then puts everything right for those who trust him to do it. So that a man is full of zeal and is committed, always fasting and praying and reading the Bible, doesn't mean he's in sync with God. That's the danger of this whole thing. So somebody can be in a circus race, chasing and chasing after God, chasing and chasing after God, pious, looking humble, looking religious, looking holy, but he's never in sync with God, because he is not dealing with God on God's own terms. He has set a standard of morality and people think